Good afternoon. It is 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. We will call the City Council meeting of the City of New Ulm to order. At this time, our first item is the consent agenda. Councilors, what are your wishes?
I'll offer a motion to approve it.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those signal by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion does carry. Item number 2, under licenses and permits, item 2.1, raffles, gambling permit, and bingo, pull tabs, and raffles gambling permit for Cathedral of the Holy Trinity.
I'll motion to approve the issuance of a lawful gambling permit for Cathedral of the Holy Trinity to conduct raffles gambling at Cathedral of the Holy Trinity, 605 North State Street on Friday, April 11, 2025, and bingo, pull tabs, and raffles gambling on Saturday and Sunday, September 2021, 2025.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion does carry. Item 2.2 is regarding a B&L bar alley closure and a liquor license extension for the Baggin' in the Streets event next month.
For a resolution to temporarily close the alley adjacent to the B&L Bar on Saturday, February 8th, 2025, beginning at 8 a.m. until 9 p.m., with 2 fire pits in the alley for Baggin' in the Street event, and authorize the extension of the B&L Bar liquor license into the closed alley area on the requested dates, times, and the alley between Center and First North Streets and First North and Broadway Park Place Street City parking lot across from City Hall during the Beanbag event, subject to conditions, which hopefully are warm.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
Counselor Schmitz?
Yes.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
And President Becker?
Yes, and that motion does carry. Item 2.3 is a 209 Pub and Grill Arctic Plunge liquor license extension.
All for a resolution authorizing 209 Pub and Grill, the extension of their liquor license into Minnesota Street from 2nd to 3rd North Street for their Arctic Plunge event Saturday, February 22nd, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Second.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
Yeah, I was just going to bring up the letter that was submitted by 209, says the 209 and the Kaiserslautern would like to extend their liquor license, but our resolution is just 209. Do we want to adjust that motion?
At this point, it's just 209 because the Kaiserhof has to submit their own,
Okay.
extend their own liquor license.
Okay.
209 can't do it for them.
All right.
Thank you. As the motion remains the same, any additional discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
Counselor Schmitz?
Yes.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
And President Becker?
Yes, motion carries. Section 3, reporting. 3.1, summary of business conducted during board and commission meetings. We will start with Counselor Christian, I guess, and work
What?
around. Yes.
They went all the way around. Okay, Park and Rec did meet. They gave the winter activities are all in motion. We did get a report on how the memberships are going and the activity. I was really shocked at the numbers. It's fantastic. People are using the facility. A little later in the agenda, Park and Rec Director is going to submit or ask for a service agreement, and he will explain that to us when we get there. And I'm going to forego to President Becker the EDA report.
Thank you, Counselor.
I have nothing new to report.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, President Becker. January 16th, I attended the Cable Communication Advisory Board meeting and got an update. That organization of ours is very busy and putting out some great programming. There was no action necessary at that meeting, but lots of information about what they've been up to and where they're going.
Perfect. It was great to see that they're meeting.
And from the sister cities, we will be conducting interviews February 5th for students to go abroad. So.
Fantastic. Just a quick update from the EDA. We had a great first meeting of the year a couple of weeks ago, last week actually. Heard from the new Newbrick director. They're continuing their course with some of the programs and projects that they have planned. And then we have a work session scheduled for next Tuesday at 8 a.m. to discuss some strategic plans for the EDA and potentially some changing to some of the grant and funding programs that we have. So we look forward to that, and there'll be more to come. Any additional updates? Thank you so much. Moving on to old business, item 4.1, we have a New Ulm Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, RFP. Mr. Stadheim.
Thank you, Madam President, City Councilors. Before you today is a request to send out for RFPs to for consultant to deliver the New Ulm Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. As you may remember, the city applied for and received $200,000 grant from the federal government for the development of the Safety Action Plan. The plan will be a comprehensive review of the city and including community engagements and whatnot as part of the process to develop this action plan really for the public rights of way throughout the city. We'll include our local partners, including MnDOT, Region 9, and Brown County as part of the process as well. Again, this is anticipated to be a $250,000 planning project. Federal grant will cover $200,000 of that, and MnDOT has the local match and IIJA funds for that remaining $50,000. Anticipated timeline for this project delivery would be reviewing the proposals beginning March 21st. Consultant selection on March 28th, and then hope to have council consideration of the contract on April 1st. Our anticipated completion date of this project would be 2 years from this month, so be happy to answer any questions you may have. The RFP document is included in the council packet for your review as well.
Before I make the authorization, I just want to thank city engineer and their staff for securing this. It's fantastic for New Ulm. I'm going to authorize a request for proposal to deliver the New Ulm Comprehensive Safety Action Plan.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? I would just like to add, I know that we've kind of done some of those safety studies with MnDOT and some of those other things, so those will kind of get looked at and incorporated into this, right?
Yeah, Madam President, City Councilors, well, being that Broadway study with MnDOT kind of got pushed back, this is, it may be a slight blessing that we'll be able to go through the planning phase first before we go through that study phase with MnDOT. So, yes, the short answer is yes, that will be included as part of that comprehensive review. It'll include all MnDOT jurisdiction roads along with Brown County roads within the city limits as well. And we'll be looking slightly outside the city limits as well as part of the project, especially on the CASA segments. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much. There is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion does carry. Item 4.2 is a request for tax abatement assistance for M&D Properties LLC. Mr. Schnobrick.
Madam President, members of the City Council, at your last meeting, you received a request from M&D Properties to establish a tax abatement program for a project at 2229 North Highland Avenue. An 8-unit townhouse project is being constructed at that location. At the time, the staff requested a little bit of time to determine the amount of tax abatement that would be generated by the project, and then there was some discussion as to what the appropriate term would be for this particular tax abatement program. The maximum term that the city can allow in this particular instance would be 15 years. So we did work with our consultant on the program. This is the first time we'll be doing one for a residential property. The city portion of the property tax that would be generated by this project is estimated to be $9,946 per year. As you know, with the tax abatement program, the city only controls the tax that is generated by the city. If someone wishes to involve the county or the school district in a project, they have to separately meet with those bodies to secure that authorization. The staff would recommend a term for this particular project of 10 years. That's based in part on looking at the term that other communities have used for this type of residential project. The total amount of assistance that would be available over a 10-year time period, there is a mistake in the staff report. It would be $99,456. So with city council approval, we would proceed with the preparation of the appropriate documents to establish a tax abatement program that would provide to the owner $95,456 over a 10-year time period. From the amount that would be available, we reduced it by $4,000, and that is to pay the city administrative fee. That would conclude the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Schnobreck.
So there's 8 units going in. Do you know how many bedrooms would be accommodated amongst those 8 units? Is
I
it 2
believe
per?
all of the 8 units have 2 bedrooms each.
Okay. And it's rental only? There's no opportunity to purchase?
It's my understanding it's rental only.
And I know I had asked this at the previous meeting when we okayed you to come forward with this. Other municipalities are also starting to do this, correct?
Other municipalities are assisting residential development, and I would say it varies from single-family dwellings
To
all the
multiple.
way to apartment buildings.
It is our biggest need in the community is more affordable housing, so I guess I'll make a motion to authorize city staff to prepare a tax abatement program for M&D properties at 2229 North Highland Avenue.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
I'm just glad we got tools like this to hopefully get developers to develop, so.
And this would be with a 10-year term, correct?
That's what staff would recommend.
Okay, thank you. Any additional discussion? All right, those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion does carry. Thank you, Mr. Schnobreck. Item 5.1, under new business, 2025 Board of Appeal and Equalization meeting.
Motion to receive a notice that the 2025 Board of Appeal and Equalization meeting has been scheduled for Monday, April 21, 2025 at 9 a.m. in the City Hall Council Chambers, 100 North Broadway, New Ulm, Minnesota.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Just a reminder for those that need to do their updating with that. Here's another reminder. All right, those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. That motion does carry. Item 5.2, a City of New Ulm and Front Burner Sports Service Agreement. Mr. Schugel.
Thank you, Council President Betker, City Council, Joey Schugel, Park and Recreation Director. This is a service agreement request with Front Burner Sports that would be for professional services with the intention of generating additional revenues for our recreation facilities and programs. So Front Burner Sports has been very successful in securing sponsorships and naming rights in other municipalities around the state and region. When we're talking about sponsorships and naming rights, we're thinking of bigger assets that those communities have. Front Burner Sports has identified a number of facilities within New Ulm and the Park and Rec system that fall in line with these types of facilities that they've worked with in other communities as well. I do want to point out that there is a mistake in your action item. This did go to Park and Rec Commission and was
All right.
approved at the January 13th meeting. So city attorney has reviewed and revised this agreement as you see in your, as attached to this item. This proposal would come with a total dollar amount over the period of $46,500. It's being proposed today that we use Park and Rec fund balance to initially pay for that. Upon successfully generating revenue, pay that initial amount back in the amount of $46,500 back to the fund balance. There's also an exhibit attached as well from Front Burner Sports in your packet as well, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of you may have.
Joey, have we done anything like this in the past?
So we're doing this on a smaller scale, Counselor Mack, right now. So we have advertising agreements right now with both Noose Hockey and New Ulm Baseball Association, which are doing essentially generating advertising dollars that then are coming back to the city. This is a little bit bigger though. This is and we have agreements with both of those associations to do this. Now this is a bigger scale, looking for more of the naming rights on some of our larger facilities.
How long do they figure a project like this takes do we do a 2-year contract or?
So great question. So all contracts are different. So these larger naming rights contracts can be 10 to 20 year contracts where they're generating between, examples of other communities have been 64,000 to 140,000 a year for that period per year for 10 to 20 years. So if you're securing a larger naming right like that, it could be up to 20 years. There's also some small scale where it could be 2 to 5 year agreements. The initial agreement here is for these services to take place over a year and a half, which then could lock us into an agreement for, one of those longer 10 to 20 year agreements.
So they go out and do the negotiating, basically, is what I'm
They
hearing?
do with us along at all times, so we know what's going on. There's regular updates. We're not surprised by anything. Once negotiations do move along, that would come back to ultimately you to decide that if this feels good, we're going to move forward.
And I must say that Mr. Schugel did an excellent job at explaining it at the Park and Rec meeting, that we're kind of going to look at, using the fund balance, which I'm always a stickler on, but if this could turn into a fantastic revenue generator, the park was sold on it. I spoke with the finance director on it this afternoon, so I'll give it a one-time deal. I'm for it. Move forward with it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Everyone knows our Park and Rec is operating at a negative budget year after year, and I think that it's very important to look at some new and creative ways to generate some revenue, and I feel like this would be a win-win because businesses can kind of showcase themselves, and then we're kind of closing a gap a little bit with that, and I don't know, it's worth exploring, so I'm in favor of it also.
Well, I'll offer a motion to approve the service agreement between the City of New Ulm and Front Burner Sports and Entertainment for professional services with the intention of generating revenues to support recreational facilities and programs, and authorize the use of the Park and Rec fund balance not to exceed $46,500 to cover professional service fees related to this agreement.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Item 5.3, 2025 Pay Equity Implementation Report.
Council President, Councilors, this is just a pay equity report that we have to submit every year. Per the worksheet, we technically are in compliance, so we'd like to submit it before the deadline of January 31st, and then the state will let us know later on in the year if we are in compliance or not.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll authorize the submission of the 2025 Pay Equity Implementation Report to the Minnesota Department of Management and Budget as required by the Local Government Pay Equity Act.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. That motion does carry. Item 5.4, Library Donation and Memorials.
I'll offer a resolution to accept donations and memorials to the New Ulm Public Library for the period October 1st to December 31st, 2024. Would you like me to read them into the record?
Yes, please, Counselor.
New Ulm Public Library staff, in memory of Sue Hunstead, gave $60 undesignated. Paul and Pam Penkert, in memory of Cindy Hillesheim, gave $10 for children's books. Wallace and Jean Wellman gave a donation in memory of Viola Schaefer, $25 undesignated. Gabriel Saavedra gave a $60 cash donation for adult programming. Nuvera Communications gave a donation in memory of Jim Krismarzik and $50 cash. Anonymous, $40 cash. Domeyer's German Store, $300 cash, undesignated. Domeyer's German Store, $150 for children programs. Sioux Auto, $100 cash for adult books. Sylvia Ofterheide, $1,000 cash for adult books. And an anonymous from the donation box, $1,850 cash, undesignated. Total of $1,813.50.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Christian.
Yes.
Counselor Warmka.
Yes.
Counselor Schmitz.
Yes.
Counselor Mack.
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, that motion carries. Last item of business today is item 5.5, Fire Department donations.
I'd like to offer the resolution to accept the following donations to the New Ulm Fire Department. The first one is $1,802.82 from Redeemer Lutheran Church, designated for purchasing an atmospheric monitor. The second one is $25 from PEO Sisterhood, Chapter EU. The third is $300 from Marilyn Reinhardt. The fourth is $100 from Rosemary and Florian Dietrich. The fifth is $1,000 from Sylvia Aufterheide. And the sixth and final one is $6,890 from Pembina Pipeline, designated for the fire rescue skid for our Polaris Ranger.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Christian.
Yes.
Counselor Warmka.
Yes.
Counselor Schmitz.
Yes.
Counselor Mack.
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, that motion does carry. With no additional business, today's meeting is adjourned. Thank you. We will move into a work session momentarily.